Shelley.
Hi, John.
Hey, Sally, how are you?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Good. You sound really soft. If you could speak
Okay.
up just a little bit.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. My voice is a little challenged, so
Okay.
I'll try to get this out. I am healed in Jesus' name, but I'm dealing with COVID, so but I'm
Okay.
good. I'm good.
Wow.
So thanks for having me on. I want to say thanks. And thanks for showing the clip on the sim. Uh, I kept hearing about it, but I kept either missing information or one or the other. So thanks for showing that clip you just showed on the sim. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. So my dream, I dreamt that I was in a hospital bed, but not understanding why. I was looking out the window, which was next to a bed that was empty. The lights in the room were not turned on, but the sunlight, or rather the daylight, from the window seemed to be enough for me to see. Um, a few moments later, a friend of mine came into my room and put her hand on my back and said, "I'm sorry about the cancer." I looked at her, but my reaction to the report of cancer did not faze me at all. I was unmoved, not fearful or concerned. And then I woke up.
Wow, that's an interesting dream. How did the dream make you feel?
Um, usually when I have a dream with a friend that I know, my first is to just kind of ask the Lord if it's literally about that friend or if it's just a representation of um, a relationship, maybe not necessarily that friend, but just something else. It was just kind of um, it was just a weird, I don't know if weird's the right word. That's the only one that's coming to mind right now, but just kind of a weird dream that I'm in a hospital and I'm not moved or phased by being in a hospital and just kind of like, but a hospital's for, if you're sick or if you're ill or have a problem, and I'm not phased by anything, but I'm there. So
Yeah. So you were there in a hospital room, in a hospital bed, and then who was your friend that was with you, or did she come
um,
in?
she's a girlfriend. She's a friend of mine that I used to. Well, I say we worked together, but we didn't technically work together. We used to be in the same training program together, and that's how we met each other.
Okay. Are you still pretty close?
Yes. Hmm.
Do you talk regularly?
Just yes,
Okay.
yes.
It's interesting to me. There's a couple of anomalies, and I always lean into anomalies.
Hmm.
You're probably not going to be in a hospital and have no idea why, unless you got a concussion and you wake up like, where am I?
Hmm.
So the idea that you were there, particularly in the dream with a long-term illness, um, doesn't sound literal to me. But here you are dealing with a health challenge right now with COVID.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
so I understand it's also the other C word, right?
Yes.
At this
Yes.
stage in human
Yes.
existence, we could dub it that because it's taken on a lot more prevalence. We see so many more people in the hospital struggling with that C word, it seems like, than even the other one lately.
Correct.
Um, but so the idea that you were in there either means one of two things. It either means that it's not you, or it means that that there could be a challenge that you don't know about yet. Um, I think because of the way that you reacted, to me, it represents the idea that it could be somebody else because
Hmm.
you were completely unfazed. Most people, when they get a diagnosis like that, they're not completely unfazed. They're worried, concerned. At minimum, some people could have a traumatic experience, and go into shock depending on what their experience has been with other people that have had a similar diagnosis. It's obviously not a piece of good news for somebody to
Right.
get that. You're unfazed, like not moved at all.
At
So
all.
yeah, just
At
like
all.
doesn't even bother you. It's like somebody walked
Right.
down the hall. So what? Okay, no big deal.
Yeah. Literally, that's how it's like, okay, whatever. And cancer is not like, oh, whatever. It's just,
Yeah.
but that's my reaction. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. You're just like, huh.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it makes me wonder if God is putting you in the perspective of somebody else that may be dealing with that diagnosis and may either be struggling physically and not know why yet, and they haven't discovered that they have that diagnosis. So I'm not saying this is what it is, but I'm saying the first thing I would do is call your friend that was in the dream and say, how are you feeling? Are you struggling with anything medically? Is there anything that, just, and again, it may not be them at all. And that's great if it's not.
Right.
But since that was the only person in the dream that you recognized, right?
There, and this is just coming to my memory now. There vaguely may have been a nurse, but there was no interaction with a nurse.
Okay.
And it was, I want to say, like either in the room, because I was in the bed that was closest to the door, because the bed that was closest to the window where the daylight was coming in was empty. So
Yeah,
there may have been a nurse in the room, but there was no interaction with that nurse.
Yeah.
And that is just coming to my memory. Like it was very vague, very vague.
Yeah. How long ago did you have this dream?
I probably a week or two, maybe 2 weeks ago. It was
Okay, so fairly recent.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yes.
So last year.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I know, right? We're in 2022.
Right.
Yes.
So last year. Okay. It's interesting. The other thing that you represent was the light. The sunlight was more than artificial lighting, right? Did they have the lights on, or you didn't know if the lights weren't on in the room because there was so much outside light coming in that you may not have
There was
needed
so
it?
much outside light, but I don't recall the lights being on. And I say that because whenever I picture hospital room lights, they're so bright, and it wasn't that bright. But it was bright enough in the room but it was almost like I said sunlight, but it was more just daylight. So you can have a really bright day that's overcast, but there's no sun. Like you don't see the sun, but it's still bright, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So who told you the diagnosis?
The friend said the diagnosis. The
Okay,
friend said, I'm sorry about the cancer.
Okay. So you weren't aware that no doctor, no nurse, no medical person came in and said this. It was your friend that said, hey, I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay. And that was really the only thing that was said in the dream, right?
That was the only thing that was said. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What was your friend's name? Just first name?
Antoinette.
Antoinette. Do you know what Antoinette means?
I don't offhand.
I can look it up real quick.
I don't offhand. I usually have a reference book.
Sometimes it's significant. It means worthy of praise.
That's what it means?
Worthy of praise. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think is really interesting. Highly praiseworthy.
Okay.
Or worthy of praise. I'm reading about a Saint Antoinette, 1790s. Anyway, so the idea of worthy of praise, somebody that's coming in whose name means worthy of praise, is cluing you in on the fact that something that doesn't seem real praiseworthy is happening. Mm-hmm. To me, it realizes the idea of two things. The light in the room is the idea of illumination or revelation, something being revealed. Mm-hmm. And something worthy of praise is the idea of and she was rubbing your back too. That's right.
Yeah, she put her hand on my back. Yeah.
Puts her hand on her back. So it's the idea of support and care, but also the idea of, to me, what I think of when I think of worthy of praise is I think of a testimony. Thank God. Like if somebody had that diagnosis and overcame it, that's highly praiseworthy for sure.
Correct.
And I know so many people that have had even 4-stage cancer diagnosis, people that have had 2 months to live, and they've been fine and completely healed. And so cancer, even a cancer diagnosis, doesn't mean what it used to mean back in the day. It means a lot less now. Typically, it just means, well, okay, you got to tighten it up. You got to eat right. You got to do things. You got to make sure that, monitor the situation. The biggest thing with cancer is you don't want it to metastasize. You don't want it to grow.
Correct.
You want it to shrink and then eventually to go away. And that can happen in many ways. But it's also interesting that cancer is something that people talk about related to, in particular, unforgiveness. The idea of unforgiveness can grow, an offense even in somebody's heart can grow, and then it can be metastasized into a group of people where, they begin to talk about the offense that they had with somebody else, and now somebody else has that same offense, and now there's a whole thing. It just grows and grows and grows. And it's those kind of things that I believe God wants cut out of our mouth, so we're not gossiping about other people, but also cut out of a community of believers. The idea that your friend, high praiseworthy, was there rubbing your back, literally meaning she has your back. I think it literally means that in any given health challenge, there's a friend behind you that has your back. And we also believe that the whole idea of high praiseworthy is the idea of testimony, that the testimony of Jesus is the word of prophecy. 2 things I would say. I don't believe the dream is literal. However, if you feel like you have a health challenge or you have,
right. I don't sense that either, John.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to say that earlier. That's not something I sense as well. I don't sense that it's literal.
I don't sense that it's literal, but I would also look at, if your friend or anybody that you recognized in the dream, if they're having a conversation with you and they're like, man, I just really have this lump or this thing or this and that, I would encourage them to get it checked out just because, just to be safe. But also anything in your life related to community, particularly a community perhaps that this friend is involved in with you. If there's any mutual friends that maybe you have an offense against or that's had an offense against you, or any cancer in relation to the spirit realm, or in particular, I feel like it's even more related to a relational realm, I would just double check that and make sure you deal with anything like that.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
yeah. And to tapping into the part where you're, I think initially you were mentioning perhaps asking this particular friend in the dream. She's had some challenges. She's had some health challenges, and she had 2 surgeries in the same year, and she's had some. It's almost like you were saying, if there was a challenge for me, this is a person who has my back. I was kind of that friend for her. We're both single. We both moved out here from different places. She moved here from Alabama. I'm sorry, I'm in the DC region. And so she moved here from Alabama. I moved here from California, and we were in a training program with the federal government. So we kind of came here together over 10 years ago, and we just kind of became friends.
What training program?
I work for the Department of the Navy, and so it's a financial management program. I work in the budget for the Department of the Navy.
That's awesome. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Yeah, it's civilian. I mean, we're civilian. It's been an interesting ride. Interesting ride here. But we've both kind of grown in our careers here together, even though we met after we came here. And so it's just kind of, but I mean, as far as in relation to the dream, we always check on each other other night, like this particular challenge I'm going through. This is my second round of COVID, but it's incredibly mild. I'm grateful for that, of course, but she has had some interesting challenges that have we've had to pray and just believe God for the best. Her surgeries were successful, but she has had a lot of challenges. So that's something that I'll, as the Lord leads, I can just ask Him to do that. But yes, yeah, working here and we kind of work together, but that's our relationship. So we're just kind of here to support each other.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. That's interesting.
So yes. Well, thank you, John. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch again, of course, but
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna look further into the sim information based off of what I do. I can't go into it a lot.
Sure.
With what I do, but I'm very interested. So thank you.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Thank you very much.
We'd love to have you. Thanks, Shelley.
Thanks. Have a good
All
one.
right. Take care.
Thanks. All right.